You know a story is about to go left when the internet goes silent for half a second before completely losing its mind. That's exactly what happened when Blueface dropped a claim so reckless it didn't even come with a warning label. No build-up. No soft launch, just a statement that instantly hijacked timelines. This wasn't gossip drifting through the internet. This felt like a secret slipping out before anyone agreed on damage control. According to him, certain names were allegedly connected to something shocking. And once those names hit the screen, the tone changed immediately. Chrisean Rock was suddenly dragged into another firestorm without even pressing post. And the moment Diddy and Young Miami were mentioned in the same breath, the internet stopped treating this like messy relationship drama. Screenshots flew, reaction videos spawned. And everyone suddenly became a courtroom with WI-FI. What made this hit harder was the timing. Hollywood is already on edge. Trust in celebrity narratives is already cracked, and scandals have been stacking up like unpaid bills. Then this claim drops out of nowhere, sounding less like tea and more like someone flipping a table mid-conversation. No proof shown. No confirmations offered, just a statement loud enough to force attention. And whether this turns out to be exaggerated, misunderstood, or completely reckless, one thing is undeniable. Once names this big get pulled into a claim this wild, the internet doesn't move on quietly. It watches, it waits, and it always wants more. The moment the claim surfaced, it didn't trickle out. It detonated. Blueface didn't ease into the conversation or set up context like a responsible narrator. He dropped a statement that sounded like it was meant to stun first and explain never. In the internet's favorite genre, chaos. This was a cold open with no commercials. According to him, something shocking allegedly exists, and the names he attached to that allegation were the kind that stopped scrolling mid-thumb. It's a story immediately. Jumped from messy relationship drama into something heavier, darker, and far more consequential. No receipts were shown, no evidence was presented, and no clarification followed. Just a claim loud enough to demand attention. In the social media age, volume often replaces verification. To understand why this moment hit so hard, you have to understand the history that came before it. The relationship between Blueface and Chrisean Rock has lived almost entirely in public view. Arguments, reconciliations, breakups, and meltdowns have all played out like a never-ending reality show with no season finale. Audiences didn't just watch the chaos, they became conditioned to it. Over time, the shock threshold rose dangerously. Wild accusations became expected, emotional explosions became content, and lines blurred between venting and warfare. But this time felt different, because the claim didn't just target a relationship, it pulled in names that shifted the scale of the story instantly. When you name people with power, the conversation stops being casual. The moment Diddy was mentioned, the temperature changed. This wasn't just another celebrity. This was a figure associated with influence, industry reach, and legacy. Mentioning him alongside an unverified allegation gave the story weight, without giving it proof. In pop culture, association alone can be radioactive. And when Young Miami was named in the same breath, the narrative expanded again. Suddenly, this wasn't a two-person feud, it was a multi-name controversy with collateral damage built in. The internet doesn't ask whether it should speculate. It asks how fast it can. Context was optional, reaction was mandatory. What made the situation even more volatile was how it was delivered. There was no careful language, no emphasis on uncertainty, no attempt to slow the impact. It felt less like sharing information and more like throwing a match into a dry forest. When statements are made that way, people assume intent, whether it's revenge, control, or distraction. Almost immediately, the internet went to work. Screenshots circulated before anyone asked what they were actually screenshotting. Reaction. Channels went live within minutes, dissecting a claim that hadn't even finished forming. Accuracy didn't stand a chance against adrenaline. For many viewers, the first question wasn't whether the allegation was true. It was why it was said publicly at all. timing matters in scandals, and this timing felt calculated or reckless. Maybe both. Dropping a claim like this doesn't happen by accident, especially in a relationship already fueled by public conflict. Some people framed it as retaliation in an ongoing emotional war. Others called it attention-seeking behavior designed to hijack headlines. A few defended it as speaking one's truth, even without proof. But nearly everyone agreed on one thing. This wasn't said to heal anything. Chrisean's name trended almost instantly. Even though she hadn't made the claim? That's the danger of viral allegations. The person most affected often has the least control. Silence becomes suspicious, but speaking too quickly can make things worse. It's a lose-lose scenario built for spectacle, not fairness, as the hours passed. Fans began rewatching old clips with new suspicion. Innocent moments were reinterpreted, casual interactions reframed as signs, and neutral footage treated like hidden clues. The internet loves retroactive storytelling, especially when it confirms what people already want to believe. Bias does the editing. The lack of evidence didn't slow the momentum. No footage appeared, no third-party confirmations emerged, and no official statements acknowledged the specifics. Yet the allegation continued to spread, growing larger with each retelling. In digital culture, repetition can feel like proof. Blueface didn't immediately clarify or retract anything. That silence became fuel. Silence online is never neutral. Gets translated as strategy, guilt, or indifference, depending on the audience. And every interpretation added another layer to the narrative. Supporters argued he was reacting emotionally, in a public relationship that never had boundaries. Critics accused him of crossing a line that shouldn't even be visible, let alone posted. The debate wasn't about facts, it was about loyalty. And loyalty is louder than logic. What got lost in the noise was the real world. Consequence of making allegations this explosive. Claims don't just trend, they linger. Even when disproven, they leave residue that's hard to scrub away. Careers don't need confirmation to be damaged, they need exposure. Behind the scenes, moments like this invite serious attention. Allegations involving powerful figures don't stay confined to comment sections. Legal teams don't tweet, they observe. Even unverified statements can create risk far beyond social media clout. Yet online, the moment was treated like a show. Refresh, react, repeat. Thumbnails got louder, titles got darker, and the allegation itself became content. Outrage turned into monetization before clarity could even arrive. The cultural climate made it worse. Public trust in celebrity narratives is already thin after years of real scandals that started as just rumors. Audiences are primed to believe the worst because sometimes the worst turns out to be true. That environment makes unproven claims far more dangerous. By the end of the first wave, nothing had been confirmed and nothing had been resolved. No evidence surfaced, no statements corrected the record, and no one stepped in to slow the spiral. The story kept moving because momentum, not truth, was driving it. This wasn't the climax of the situation, it was the ignition. And once something this volatile catches fire, the fallout always comes next. Once the claim hit the algorithm, the internet didn't react, it overreacted. Timelines turned into opinion factories running at full capacity with zero quality control. Everyone suddenly became a legal analyst, a body language expert, and a relationship therapist all at the same time. Context packed its bags and left the chat. TikTok transformed into a digital crime lab overnight. Old clips were slowed down like they were Zapruder footage. Pauses were analyzed like confessions, and facial expressions were treated like sworn testimony. When the jokes stop and the freeze frames start, the story has officially crossed into dangerous territory. Humor gave way to suspicion. Memes still flooded feeds, but the laughs felt uneasy. This wasn't playful internet nonsense. Anymore, it was nervous laughter meant to cope with discomfort. Every joke carried a silent "what if" underneath it. Comedy became a shield, not entertainment. The situation escalated fast once the names overshadowed the claim itself. Soon as Diddy was mentioned, the story gained gravity without gaining evidence. Power does that. It bends perception. Young Miami into the mix, and speculation multiplied instantly. Association became fuel. Old interviews resurfaced. Casual photos were reframed as suspicious. Neutral moments were rewritten as foreshadowing. The internet doesn't investigate, it connects dots. Even when those dots were never meant to be connected. Meanwhile, Blueface remained unpredictable, which only intensified the chaos. No clear clarification, no structured explanation, no attempt to slow the wildfire. Online silence never reads as neutral. It reads as strategy, spite, or fear depending on who's watching. Speculation rushed in to fill the vacuum. Chrisean Rock found herself trending without saying a word. That's the cruel math of viral allegations. Silence becomes suspicious, but speaking risks making everything worse. The internet doesn't allow people time to process. It demands immediate performance. Celebrity reactions came wrapped in coded language. No names were dropped, but captions about privacy, truth. And not believing everything online started popping up everywhere. Hollywood rarely confronts storms directly. It prefers to whisper from behind sunglasses. Those whispers spoke volumes. Influencers tried to react without committing, and you could hear the hesitation. Long pauses, careful phrasing, edited disclaimers mid-sentence. When people who thrive on chaos suddenly get cautious, it means the story crossed a line nobody wants to be clipped on. Fans split into loud camps. One side accused Blueface of weaponizing rumors to control a narrative. The other argued that celebrities lie too often to dismiss claims outright. Facts weren't the focus, loyalty was. And loyalty doesn't require proof. The absence of evidence didn't slow anything down. No tape surfaced. No third-party confirmation arrived. Yet repetition did its job. In digital culture, hearing something enough times can feel like verification. Media outlets attempted damage control with words like alleged and claims. But disclaimers don't travel as far as headlines. Once a rumor hits mass awareness, grammar doesn't protect reputations. The story outruns its own cautions. Pop culture comparisons went wild. People dragged up past celebrity scandals that started as whispers and ended in courtrooms. Others warned about mob mentality and the dangers of believing everything online. Both sides shouted, neither side paused. Reaction thumbnails grew darker and louder. Shock faces, red arrows, and all-caps titles flooded feeds. The allegation itself became a product stripped of nuance and consequences. Outrage turned into monetization in real time. Behind the scenes, the stakes were clearly higher than comment sections suggested. Claims involving powerful figures don't stay on social media forever. Even unverified allegations can invite serious legal attention. This wasn't just trending, it was risky. As hours turned into days, outrage didn't disappear. It hardened. People stopped screaming and started watching. Every post, every silence, every move became part of the narrative. Observation replaced reaction. What unsettled many viewers was how normal this all felt. Another explosive claim, another viral spiral, another moment where truth lagged behind attention. Chaos had become routine entertainment by the end of this phase. The internet wasn't asking what happened anymore. It was asking what happens next. Proof, denial, escalation, or collapse. Something always follows. Stories like this don't just fade. This wasn't the peak of the scandal. This was the pressure cooker. And pressure never releases without consequences. When the shouting slowed and the memes stopped peaking, the fallout didn't disappear. It just changed shape. Viral chaos burns hot and fast, but reputational damage settles in like smoke that refuses to clear. The echo of a claim this loud doesn't need proof to linger. It needs memory. For Blueface, the aftermath wasn't applause or validation. It was scrutiny. Every past outburst, every chaotic post, every public feud suddenly looked like part of a larger pattern instead of isolated mess. Once you light a fire this big, people start checking who's been holding matches for a while. Supporters argued he was reacting emotionally inside a relationship that never had boundaries. Critics said he crossed a line that shouldn't even be visible, let alone posted. The debate wasn't about facts anymore. It was about motive. And motive is where public opinion turns unforgiving. For Chrisean Rock, the cost felt heavier and more personal. Her name trended without her voice attached to it. Silence became suspicious, but speaking risked inflaming a storm she didn't start in that moment. Viral allegations create a trap where every option looks like a mistake. Public sympathy fractured. Quickly, some viewers saw her as collateral damage dragged into a narrative she didn't control. Others treated speculation like confirmation, proving how fast empathy evaporates when rumors get traction. Internet court doesn't wait for evidence. It waits for engagement. Pulling Diddy into the conversation changed the scale entirely. This wasn't just celebrity gossip brushing past fame. It grazed power, influence, and legacy. When powerful names get attached to unverified claims, silence becomes strategy and movement becomes calculation. Nobody rushes when stakes look this high, mentioning Young Miami alongside it all deepen the unease. Even indirect association can trigger suspicion in a climate already primed for scandal. The internet doesn't measure proximity carefully. It lumps, labels, and moves on. Nuance rarely survives virality. What became undeniable was how little proof mattered once momentum took control. No tape surfaced, no confirmations arrived. Yet the narrative had already traveled too far to be pulled back. In digital culture, exposure does the damage long before verification shows up. Behind the scenes, moments like this invite attention far quieter than comment sections. Legal and PR teams don't clap back, they monitor. Claims involving high-profile figures can ripple into contracts, partnerships, and future opportunities. Even unverified statements carry weight once they're loud enough. The audience's behavior shifted in subtle ways. People stopped reacting emotionally and started reading patterns. Every post felt intentional. Every silence felt strategic. When scandals mature, observation replaces outrage. Reaction channels adjusted in real time. Jokes softened. Thumbnails calmed down. Nobody wanted to be the clip that aged badly if facts later contradicted the frenzy. Awareness has a way of ruining easy content. What lingered most was how normal this chaos felt. Another explosive claim. Another trending name. Another cycle where attention outran truth. The shock wasn't the allegation anymore. It was how quickly audiences adapted to it. Relationships don't escape moments like this intact. Trust erodes when communication gets replaced by public statements. Once lines are crossed at this scale, they don't vanish. They get archived. Even reconciliation carries receipts. As days passed, the internet moved on to the next distraction, but the imprint stayed. People remembered how fast they believed something without proof. They remembered how easy it was to consume outrage, like entertainment. And some felt uneasy about that realization. This story didn't end with confirmation or denial. It ended with uncertainty. Uncertainty is powerful because it leaves space for imagination, suspicion, and future headlines. That space is where scandals live the longest. For everyone involved, the real consequence wasn't a trending topic. It was the loss of narrative, control. Once a story escapes into public imagination, it no longer belongs to the people inside it. It belongs to the audience. Audiences rarely let go cleanly. They wait. They watch. They connect dots that may or may not exist. And eventually, they decide what they believe regardless of facts. This wasn't the ending people expected. It was the aftermath nobody wanted. And in celebrity culture, aftermaths are where the real damage happens. Because once a claim reaches this altitude, it doesn't need proof to survive. It just needs memory. If this story made you pause, rewind, or question what you just heard, then congratulations, you were actually listening. Real scandals don't always arrive with proof and paperwork. Sometimes they show up as claims, reactions, and very loud silence. If you think this allegation crossed a line, say it in the comments. And if you think the internet ran way too far ahead of the facts, don't tiptoe explain yourself below. Now smash that like button like it owes you back rent and refuses to answer your texts. Subscribe like you're tired of celebrity coverage. That treats chaos like a joke and skips the uncomfortable questions. Turn on notifications because these stories don't come with warnings. They drop suddenly, they spread fast, and they always land here. This channel doesn't protect reputations or babysit narratives. We break down patterns, motives, and why certain stories explode while others disappear overnight. Fame doesn't make people honest, it just makes everything louder and messier. And once you understand how scandals move, you'll never look at viral drama the same way again. Drop your thoughts in the comments and tell us which part of this story felt the most reckless. Tell us whether allegations should ever be used publicly, in personal wars, and tell us what celebrity situation you think is going to blow up next. 'Cause, let's be real, something else is already loading. Scandals don't vanish. They evolve, resurface, and come back with new names and louder headlines. And when the next alleged moment turns into a full-blown internet firestorm, you'll already know the playbook. This is Expose Express, where the drama moves fast. The takes hit hard, and the truth never stays quiet for long.